Ravens fan, we're facing a crucial decision that might be painful, but absolutely necessary for the future of the team. Ronnie Stanley, one of the pillars of our offensive line, has been an essential player, but the question lingering in Baltimore's backstage is it worth keeping a player with an injury history who, despite his talent, has proven to be unpredictable? What's at stake is not only the health of the team, but also the Ravens' financial future, who must make strategic choices to stay competitive. And the worst part, time is running out. Stick with me till the end because this decision could change everything for the team, and you won't want to miss how this story unfolds. Go Ravens! The Ravens' financial situation, fan, is far from easy. The team needs improvements in several positions, but the cap space is very tight. To make good acquisitions and strengthen the team, Baltimore will have to make tough decisions on where to spend the money. The first big dilemma is regarding Ronnie Stanley. He's an excellent player, no doubt, but renewing his contract won't come cheap. The team's cap space isn't set up to spend over $20 million annually on one player, especially with the financial limitations the Ravens are facing. This puts the team in a situation where every penny must be spent carefully, as other areas of the roster also need attention. And this is where things get even more complicated. Stanley holds great value when he's on the field. He's one of the league's best tackles when healthy, and he's a cornerstone in protecting Lamar Jackson. However, the big issue is Stanley hasn't managed to stay healthy for many full seasons. At 31 years old, his durability is a risk, and the Ravens need to consider this when making any offers. If the injury bug returns, the Ravens could be investing a fortune in a player who can't contribute consistently. This presents a massive dilemma because re-signing him means a big investment, but with the risk that he may not be available when the team needs him most. Moreover, the team has other needs, and with the tight cap, investing everything in a player with an injury history might be a strategic mistake. Although Stanley has been essential in the past, the future must be the focus. Cap space needs to be freed up to bring in players who can make a lasting impact on the team. With finances in mind, the decision to keep Stanley or look for cheaper alternatives will determine how Baltimore can improve other areas of the roster. The goal is to balance finances and ensure the team has the best options to compete. Therefore, fan, this decision isn't just about how much Stanley is worth, but how the team will use every penny it has. Keeping Stanley could be too big a financial risk, and the team needs to weigh whether that money could be better spent on other positions, or even on a replacement who offers more security and durability. And this brings us to the question that's leaving everyone in suspense. Is it time to look for another option for the offensive line and free up cap space for more urgent needs? Fan, we know that Ronnie Stanley is one of the best tackles in the league when he's healthy. But the big question is, can he stay healthy for an entire season? At 31 years old, and with a history of injuries that have included major interruptions in his career, that's a question no one can ignore. While Stanley has shown his value over the years with his recent Pro Bowl selection, he also has a track record of lost seasons due to injuries that can't be overlooked. This makes the Ravens question whether he's truly the long-term solution for the offensive line or just a risky bet. Stanley finally managed to complete his first healthy season last year, but that was the exception, not the rule. Injuries have always been an issue for him, and the question now is whether he'll be able to maintain his level of performance without missing several games. The reality is, at 31, he's no longer a young player. Injuries could become more frequent, and the chance of needing surgery or extended recovery time is a risk the Ravens can't ignore. Even though he's a talented player, Stanley's durability becomes an increasing concern. The Ravens' biggest fear is that by re-signing Stanley, the team will be taking a risk with a valuable player who might not be there when it counts most in the season. Lamar Jackson, for example, relies on the protection offered by the offensive line to make his plays. If Stanley isn't available or can't play at a high level, this puts the entire game plan at risk. Stanley's injuries could not only be an obstacle for him, but also a risk for the performance of the whole team, and that needs to be seriously considered. With this in mind, the Ravens need to decide if it's worth continuing to bet on Stanley or if it's time to look for a more reliable replacement. It's a tough decision, as Stanley has a lot to offer, but the fragility of his body, given his age and injury history, might tip the scale. And here's the big question. Can the Ravens afford to keep Stanley, knowing he might not be available for the entire next season? Here's the big question, fan. Should the Ravens let Ronnie Stanley go and invest in a new tackle? Thinking about the future and considering the team's finances, this might be the best option. Letting Stanley go and looking for a younger, healthier player could be the smartest move. The Ravens' cap space is tight, and the money that would be spent on Stanley could be better used elsewhere, or even on a new tackle who has fewer injury concerns and can contribute more consistently to the team. If the Ravens let Stanley walk, the team still has options in free agency. Alaric Jackson, for instance, is one of those options who could provide a more reliable and financially advantageous solution. Jackson is younger, and while he still has a lot to prove, he could be an important piece for the offensive line without the high costs and risks that come with re-signing Stanley. Moreover, this move would free up cap space, allowing the Ravens to invest in other areas that also need reinforcement, like defense or even the offense, to give Lamar Jackson more weapons. The team could also opt to draft a tackle in the next class. This would give the Ravens the opportunity to build a younger and more durable offensive line, while allowing the team to focus on strengthening other areas of the roster. The draft is always a chance to renew the team's foundation, and by investing in a young player, the Ravens could build an offensive line for the future without heavily impacting their financial situation. This decision isn't easy, but it could be the best choice when considering Stanley's impact on the team's finances and the risks he represents with his injury history. So, the idea of letting Stanley walk isn't just a financial decision, but also a way to seek more security and durability for the offensive line. With so many young talents available, the Ravens might not only replace Stanley, but perhaps even find a player who has more to offer at a more affordable price. Now, the question is, will the Ravens make this choice and let Stanley walk, or will they bet on his continued presence, risking the team's financial future? Well, we're past the halfway point of our video, but I notice you haven't left your like yet. This is really important so YouTube continues recommending my content to you, and I'll keep bringing you updates. So, go ahead, hit that like button, it's free. Thanks, now let's continue. If the Ravens decide to let Ronnie Stanley go, one of the most attractive alternatives is to find a replacement in free agency. Alaric Jackson is an option that stands out. He's young, still developing, but has shown great potential to be a durable solution on the offensive line. The best part is that he will likely be more affordable than Stanley, which would give the Ravens more financial flexibility to strengthen other areas of the team. Jackson also brings an important quality, the potential to be a long-term piece. Unlike Stanley, who has a history of injuries, Jackson has a potential to be a more reliable player, which is crucial for an offensive line that needs stability. Signing Jackson could provide a safer and more cost-effective solution for the Ravens, allowing them to use the saved resources to improve other parts of the roster. This is especially important considering the team's other needs, such as bolstering the defense or even adding more pieces to the offense. Additionally, if the Ravens decide to invest in a younger tackle, they could also look to the draft, where there is a good amount of talent available at this position. This would give the team the chance to rebuild the offensive line without the risks of investing heavily in a player who has proven to be physically vulnerable. The draft is always an excellent opportunity to add young talent to the team, and if the Ravens feel Jackson isn't the best option, they can always find someone in the draft who fits the long-term plan. Therefore, by letting Stanley go, the Ravens would have the chance to renew the offensive line without compromising the team's financial health. The key here is to find an option that not only fills the position, but also proves to be a solid and durable piece for the coming years. The big question now is, will the Ravens move forward with Jackson or even seek new talent in the draft, betting on the future of the offensive line? This is where it gets tough, fan. Ronnie Stanley has a great history with the Ravens. He's not just a good player. He's also a beloved figure on the team and has been a key piece in protecting Lamar Jackson. This creates an emotional connection with the fans and the team. But as we know, football isn't just about emotions. Decisions need to be made based on what is best for the team in the long run. Keeping Stanley could be a way to continue supporting Lamar, but it could also be a risky move. The question here is, what is more important for the Ravens? Loyalty to a player who has been a pillar of the offensive line, or the need to ensure a more financially balanced team with fewer risks? Sentimentality is important, but it can't be the only factor influencing a decision of this magnitude. At the end of the day, the team needs to consider financial health, Stanley's performance, and the risk he represents with his injury history. As difficult as it may be, sometimes it's necessary to move on and make the more pragmatic choices. This is especially relevant when thinking about the Ravens' future. The team needs to ensure that it is prepared to compete at the highest level, and to do that, Money and resources need to be used in the best way possible. If Stanley becomes a financial obstacle, the Ravens will have to move on. Loyalty is valuable, but the long-term success of the team needs to be the priority. That is the line the team will have to follow. Therefore, even though saying goodbye to Stanley may be emotionally difficult, the Ravens may need to be more pragmatic than sentimental. It's time to look to the future and make tough decisions to ensure the team remains competitive. And in the end, will the Ravens put logic above sentimentality and search for new solutions for the offensive line? Now that you understand the gravity of the situation, the question is, will the Ravens risk keeping Ronnie Stanley on the team, or is the better choice to let him go and invest in younger and healthier alternatives? The future of the offensive line and even the financial impact on the team depend on this decision. So, what's your opinion? Do you think the Ravens should invest in Stanley or look to the future with a new approach? Leave your comment below. Let's discuss it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to stay updated on all news about our team. See you in the next video.